Good morning, everyone. Morning. Fabulous to be here. Some of you may be wondering, what has this video got to do with six-figure networking? You will be able to figure it out by the end of our presentation. If you haven't, please come and talk to us, because the philosophy in that video is what we use all the time. By paying it forward, by giving to people, it comes back to you, and it comes back to you faster and faster and faster. The more you give, the more that comes back to you, and that's what we're going to talk about today. For those of you who don't know me, I am Juswant, and this is Sylvia. Sylvia has often been asked that question, are you Sylvia?
Actually, I've been asked, are you Juswant? No, I'm Sylvia. Okay, I get it. So, how did you enjoy the video? Do you recognise the guy at the end? It all comes together, doesn't it? You think, oh, I know that face, he was there at the start. And it kind of just crystallises it for you, doesn't it? Okay, great. So what we're going to talk today about is six-figure networking. I mean, you have got the most amazing opportunity in front of you over the next 24 hours, 48 hours. Do you realise that? Yeah? The amount of people in this room and in that room that are going to be here that you can speak to and just ask questions, you know, make relationships. You have got so much ahead of you right now. So this is, I guess, one of the reasons why they asked us to speak. Rob said, please come and speak to us at the start of the event, because we want to frame the weekend up for you so that you get maximum value and make use of maximum opportunity. And six-figure networking, it sounds pretty fundamental, and it is. So that's what we're going to share with you today. And just make some notes and make a note of a few key things that you're going to do over the weekend. You don't have to do everything, you don't have to do all of it, but just make sure that you commit to doing at least 2 or 3 things. Okay? Is that a deal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, who wants to have some skills and tricks that those guys in that room will not have? Because they're missing out on some fundamental skills for networking this weekend. Because you're going to go back in there and you're going to form fantastic relationships, and they're going to think you're the best networkers in the world, and they won't know why. And we're going to teach you how. In the next 45 minutes ish, we're going to teach you how to do that and make people think, God, that was an amazing person I spoke to, and you won't even have spoken. Because we all know who's everybody's favourite topic? Themselves. Yeah. So when you're networking with somebody, who should they be talking about? Them. And we're going to go through some things. We've been running the Berkshire Property Meet for 5 years now. It's our 5th anniversary in April. It was supposed to be a one-off. It was going to be in a pub. We were going to meet some friends, have a drink. And as they all left, they said to Sylvia, when's the next one? And Sylvia looked at me, when's the next one? I said, I have no idea. Are we doing another one? And that's how it started. But there was a lot of passion and a lot of belief in what we were doing, and we were giving a lot back to the people that were coming along on a regular basis, that those people just kept coming back and coming back. And the best marketing we had was word of mouth. People enjoyed what they saw, people enjoyed what they did, they enjoyed the people they met, they enjoyed the speakers, and they thought, you've got to go there. We've had people apologise to us because they've not been to the Berkshire Property Meet. Sorry, I haven't been yet. You know, it's all right. You live in Scotland, we understand. But I have to say, there's a guy who flies down from Aberdeen at least once a quarter, so that excuse doesn't really stand with us. And once we did a little who's come the furthest, and we were talking and we said, right, who's come the furthest? We did know a guy had come from San Diego, so it was a bit of a trick. And there was a guy at the back of the room who'd flown down from the Shetland Islands, so he's thinking, I'm going to win this one. And I knew he wasn't, but there was 3 people stood at the end. And I thought, hold on, he's from San Diego, he's from the Shetland Islands, where are you from? And this guy said, oh, I come from Toronto. So our fame has spread far and wide. But that's all been built on one philosophy. And we're going to share that with you today. Oops, does this thing work? Yep. We meet a lot of people who are not workers, not networkers. They go to events and there are certain fundamentals that we feel that you should know and learn that's going to get you the maximum value from the event. And the more you network, the luckier you get, because the chances are the more people you will meet that one person that's the right person for you to do the joint venture with. And it may not be the first time you could go, it could be the 2nd, 3rd, 4th or 5th. I mean, we've seen people coming to the Berkshire Meet, what, for 2 years in a row? 3 years in a row?
Bar 1 or 2 occasions where I think one person had a baby so they couldn't make it. That's acceptable. You know, but literally people are putting it in their diary and they're making an appearance every single month. It doesn't have to be the Berkshire, it can be anywhere. Just get out networking. That's what you want to be doing. And it does, it just keeps coming back to you.
Yeah. I mean, I go to 2 or 3 networking groups a week. Not just property, but business as well. Because if you're in the property business and you're looking for people to work with, there are lots and lots of people out there who don't understand or have the skills you guys have. So the people you're looking for your joint venture partners may not necessarily be at a property networking event. If you go onto Google and type business networking and your hometown, you'll find hundreds of groups that meet in the morning, the afternoon, the evening. Some of them are free, some of them are paid for. But they are all business people and they're all very busy running their business. Some of them will be very interested in property, but they haven't got the time, they haven't got the skills, but they may have the cash that you're looking for. And we're going to teach you some skills of how to actually build relationships with these people, how to move forward with these people. So it's not just about property networking groups, it's about any networking you go to.
Do you guys all know why you're here? Have you got a reason, a question, a purpose? Yeah? I've got a few nods. I want a bit more feedback, yeah? Is there a yes, a big yes in the room? Yeah. You should have. You should have. When you go out networking, you should have maybe even a list of questions, knowing that at least some of them are going to get answered. If not all of them, but at least some. Don't go there just because, oh, well, my friends are going, so I'm just going to go along and see what it's like. You need to have a bit more of a focus and a bit more of a purpose. So while you're here over the weekend, I guess you want to have some tricks up your sleeve. Like Juswant said, you're going to be the best networkers out of the whole weekend. Yep? So you want to go away with some serious tips.
I think 2 people at the front said yeah. I didn't hear the rest. Does everybody want to be the best networkers at the event this weekend?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So do you want to know, well, we've got some beginners tricks and tips about icebreakers. So do you want to have the beginner's icebreaker?
Yes.
We're going to teach you a more advanced icebreaker at the end, but we have to see if you guys take part, then we will teach you the advanced one. So how you do on this one will decide how you do on the later one. But this is a fundamental skill that Sylvia's now going to run through with you.
Now this could be a little bit tricky, okay, so just bear with me. You guys good with that?
Yes.
I want you to just find somebody that you're sitting next to behind, but just sort of find a partner. Don't get out of your seat, just find a partner. Okay, great.
Preferably somebody you haven't come here with.
Okay, right, has everyone got a partner? Perfect. Okay, can I have some quiet, please? You've all got a partner? Right. This is fundamental, and everyone should be able to do this. Hold out your hand. And you know what you're going to say? Hello. And you smile. And you smile. How easy was that? Now, I know it kind of sounds a bit basic, but it's not. Most people don't even do that. They don't do that. They kind of look around and they go, oh, well, they don't want to talk to me, and they walk in the other direction. All it takes is a smile. Everyone's in the same boat. There are 800 people in that room. I guarantee that there's not one person that knows every single person. So there's going to be people in that room that you don't know, and that's who you want to go and speak to. Fair point?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Can we just check who sat next to the person that came with today? Who sat next to their partner, their husband, their wife, their business partner? One top tip, do not sit next to each other for the rest of the weekend.
Okay, and you've got 30 seconds to change seats right now. Go on, make use of it.
Quick, swap seats,
You've got
swap
30
round.
seconds. Go on.
If you're sat with the person you came with, we suggest you move round. Because Sylvia and I, for 4 years, we went to lots of networking groups, we went to a lot of presentation skills, all kinds of stuff.
Okay, great.
We never sat together.
And you know what people say to us? Have you guys had an argument? No. We haven't had an argument. We just don't like talking to each other at events. Okay, so have you got somebody new that you're sitting next to? Yes. Great. Okay, good.
Oops, it's gone forward once.
Go back.
Right, let's try that again.
Right. Okay. Like Justin said, you know, I'm sure many of you don't know who we are or a bit of our background, so we just want to share a little bit about myself and Juswant.
If this thing will move forward one.
Is it okay?
To go forward one.
Amit?
There you go.
Cool.
A little bit about my background, a brief potted history, 20 years in IT, working in the public sector. The 2 greatest inventions I ever saw was email and text, which means I didn't have to go and speak to anybody. I could just sit in my office all day and just email people, tell them to do things, and just text people, and I didn't actually have to have any human communication. I spent a lot of time in IT, which meant there was very little people skills involved. So that meant doing what I do now had to be a fundamental shift in what I was doing. One day I was sat in the office and I was having a chat with my boss. Anybody read the Metro newspaper in the morning? Yeah. The most depressing piece of paper you ever see, because you're sitting on the train in the morning and you see this headline in front of you, and every single newspaper's got the same headline. That morning on the train, every single newspaper had the same headline, that you will not retire till you're 70. You will not retire till you're 70. So I'm on the train in the morning and this is what I'm seeing. I go into the office and I'm meeting with the boss and he says to me, we're going to retire out of this place, we're not going anywhere. And I'm sitting there thinking, that's another 32 years. Do I really want to be in this place another 32 years? And that was the only thing that kept going around in my head. And I walked up to my office, went up the lift, walked down the corridor, walked into my office, and Pete was sat there and he goes, who's died? I goes, me in this place. But he'd been there 36 years and he was happy with that. Pete was a wonderful guy and he loved it, but I thought, that's not for me. And that's all I could think about, is me actually leaving that place in a coffin. And I went home and spoke to Sylvia, and 2 weeks later I just handed my notice in, because I had to make that shift. I had contract work I was going to go to, but I was happy. I've been there 11 and a half years, I had a really nice job. But I knew if I didn't make that change there and then, it'd be another 5 years and I'd be still thinking about it. But we all got different plans, and Sylvia had a slightly different plan.
Yes, I did. A bit about myself. For those of you that may not know, I was an accountant in my previous life. Don't hold it against me. I do have a personality, which is why it says I love spreadsheets, and I do. I still do. I mean, it's a really great asset in what I do now in our business. But I do love spreadsheets. I have been an accountant. It's held me in good stead, but I just knew that wasn't really where I was going to be spending the rest of my life. The turning point for me was actually about 10, 12 years ago now, when I went to Australia. I was living in Australia for a couple of years in 2001. And somebody gave me that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Who's read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Yes. Isn't it? It just speaks for itself. If you haven't read it, go out and get it this weekend, okay? It just says enough when you read it. Somebody gave me that book, and I read that from cover to cover within just literally one day. And I was so inspired by it. It completely shifted where my mind was, because I was very much into the corporate world and the 9 to 5 and going up that corporate ladder. And I was so inspired. Robert Kiyosaki was actually coming to Sydney, and I decided I've got to meet him. I've got to see this guy in the flesh. And I went to see him. I met him. I spoke to him. I had the privilege of having 5 minutes with him, and I also bought the Cash Flow 101 game, which we still play to this day. Okay. Second thing that happened for me while I was in Australia is that somebody introduced me to a personal development weekend. And that was again something when I thought, what do you mean write down your goals? What goals? You know, that was something really new to me. So 2 fundamental things happened for me back in 2000, and I knew, I don't know how, I didn't know what, and I didn't know when, but I did know that my journey had changed. Does that resonate with some of you in the room? So when I came back to the UK, I carried on with my corporate career knowing that there was going to be an end to that journey. And I was on this path, but it was going to take me somewhere else. Not quite sure when or how. Then I met this lad, this guy. And
I didn't have any choice in this matter, actually. But
yeah.
She had a spreadsheet, and I was on the spreadsheet,
oh,
so I was number 52 on the spreadsheet.
That's another story for another day. When I met this guy, a couple of dates later, I gave him that book. And at the back of my mind, I actually said to myself, if he doesn't like it, if he doesn't read it, or if he gives it back to me and says this is rubbish, I'm going to dump him. Lucky for him, he went out.
She's not joking.
Yeah, I'm not. Lucky for him, he actually came back and he ended up buying the whole range of Robert Kiyosaki books at that time.
She was a book widow for a while.
I was.
She was. Couldn't talk to me.
Yeah, okay, shush. So basically, I mean, that's kind of, you know, his mindset had changed, and that was, you know, tying in with the stories about him being in his workplace, in the office. And that book did actually change his life, because it made him go in a completely different direction, and he did resign. He just said, that's it, I can't do this anymore. He could feel that he was walking towards his coffin. Now, you're all going to face this. That very last little picture is really talking about choices. You are going to be on a journey. You're going to meet people. They're going to influence you. They're going to inspire you. And they're also probably going to share with you stuff that you're probably going to say, that's not what I want to do. and you're going to need to be making choices along your journey. And that's what we've both done. It's not going to be something that's going to happen overnight necessarily. But I knew back in 2000 my journey changed. In 2004 and 5 we got heavily involved in property, and the journey just keep on growing. So we did make a choice. We've both finished our full-time careers. We've got, 3, 4 businesses between us. And it's actually down to a lot of the people we've been meeting along the way. So don't underestimate who you're sitting next to. I mean, at the Berkshire Property Meet, we do some active networking every single month. And there's a couple of lovely stories. And one of them is 2 gentlemen sitting at the front. And of course, you don't sit next to anybody you know, right? Because we've just proved that. And these 2 gentlemen were sitting next to each other. They're relatively elderly. And at the end, I said, how was the network? And these 2 guys, they had to talk. They said they really wanted to share something. And one gentleman stood up and he said, I've just spoken to this guy. I didn't know him. Well, at least I didn't think I knew him. But we went to school together 40 years ago. And they're doing business together. They've already bought a few properties. So it's lovely. You have no idea who you're sitting next to. So don't underestimate that. Okay?
And don't underestimate the person you sat next to, because another little something from the Berkshire Meet. Who's met Dina Honey? Who's met her? She's done phenomenally well out through networking through property. She's raised over £500,000 of a joint venture finance in 12 months by following a very simple plan. We ask people to stand up and talk to each other, introduce yourself, say why you're here. This gentleman stood up, started speaking to Dina, spoke at her for 5 minutes, didn't let her talk, sat down, and he was very chuffed with himself because he'd impressed her, obviously. And then at the end of the Berkshire Meet, we said, look, there's a lady here, it's the 2nd anniversary of her coming here, this is what she's achieved, she's done phenomenally, she's buying property and all this other stuff, can you come to the front of the room, Dina? And this bloke just looked around and didn't expect the old lady that he wouldn't talk to got up and came to the front room and did a 5-minute talk about how she's raised massive amounts of finance through joint ventures and done all these things, and how she's here to help people. She said when she walked back to the seat to sit back down, the guy couldn't look her in the face, he was just staring at the floor. Do not underestimate who you're talking to, because that joint venture partner that you're looking for could be the person you just dismissed because they don't fit your criteria. They don't look right, they're not the right age, they're not the right ethnicity, they're not the right gender. Because you prejudge people and it will cost you a lot of money. Last Monday when Rob Moore was speaking to the Berkshire Meet, this guy comes running up to me, he goes, Juswant, where's all the guys with all the money? You know, I want to talk to somebody with money. I was going, fabulous. I goes, who have you been speaking to so far? He said, I spoke to that guy over there, and I spoke to him, and I spoke to him. And one of the people who pointed out, I knew had £500,000 and he was looking for a joint venture partner. But he didn't ask him the right questions.
Nor did he take an interest in him.
He spoke at him.
Yeah.
Didn't ask him any questions, didn't find anything about the guy, and just came running over to me. He says, where's the guys with the money? And I'm just chuckling to myself, thinking, you've just been talking to the guy with the money. Well, you're obviously too busy talking about yourself. You didn't actually ask him any questions.